You can feel it drain away. You are feeling it now. It's not an argument. It's not a dramatic moment of betrayal. It is a silent, atmospheric shift. It is in the pause after you offer an opinion, where her gaze drifts to the window, as if searching for a more substantial point of view on the horizon. It is in the way your touch is received, not as a claim, but as a request for validation. It is in the slow, grammatical demotion in her mind, from the active subject of a sentence, he acts, to the passive object, things happen to him. You adapt. You accommodate. You prune your edges, sand down your convictions, and swallow your objections on the altar of harmony. You believe this is love, this is maturity. You have been told it is. And with each concession, you feel a part of your territory ceded. The respect evaporates, not with steam, but like argon, a noble gas, invisible and gone. You are left holding the empty vessel of a relationship, confused, asking the modern psychologized question, what did I do wrong? Your crime was following the modern script. The script that pathologizes the masculine backbone and rewards the supplicant's grin. The modern world told you to be nice, to be safe, to be emotionally available in the most sanitized, risk-free way possible. It has made you predictable. It has made you manageable. And in doing so, it has rendered you invisible to the deepest, most ancient circuits of attraction. You are a ghost in your own life, haunting the spaces you once filled. We are not discussing a simple relationship tip. We are excavating a psychological fossil, buried beneath layers of social programming. In this lecture, we will dissect the secret. It is not a trick. It is not a manipulative technique. It is a fundamental, tectonic shift in your psychic orientation, a realignment with the archetypal realities that govern attraction, power, and respect at a stratum far beneath polite conversation. We will move from biology, to pathology, to philosophy. To understand, we must first strip away the last 500 years of romantic idealism. We must go to the desert, to the savanna, to the glacial ice. The human psyche is not a product of the information age. It is an ancient, layered system, a cathedral built atop a cave. The cave is where the instincts live. The female biological imperative is, and has always been, hypergamous. Do not let the modern sneer at this term fool you. This is not a vulgar reduction, it is a biological and psychological fact. It is an orientation toward securing and optimizing the best possible genetic and material resources for potential offspring. This is not a conscious, mercenary calculation in a modern woman. It is a drive as deep and unquestioned as the search for water or shelter. It is a relentless, subconscious assessment of value and stability. What constituted value on the Pleistocene plain? It was not agreeableness. Agreeableness, in that context, was often stupidity. The male who agreed with everything, who sought to avoid all conflict, who prioritized the feelings of the tribe over the harsh demands of reality, was a dead man. His genes were erased by the leopard, the rival band, the winter. Value was competence in the face of chaos. It was the ability to read the landscape, both physical and social, and navigate its threats. It was the capacity to impose a fragment of order on a universe screaming toward entropy. It was sovereignty. A sovereign male was an integrated psychological system. His capacity for aggression was bound to his capacity for protection, his capacity for anger was yoked to his sense of justice, his ambition was directed toward a domain he could control. This sovereignty signaled one paramount thing: reliability under pressure. The psyche of a woman, tuned by a million years of selective pressure, recognizes this as the ultimate currency. Respect, therefore, is not an emotional preference. It is a biological signal detection. It is the ancient brain's recognition of a hierarchy of competence. It whispers, this individual manifests traits that enhance the survival probability of my lineage. He can confront the dragon, whether literal or metaphorical, and return with the gold, or at least, not be eaten. When you cease to signal that competence, when you instead signal a need for external validation, a fragility that requires constant reassurance, a morality based solely on social acceptance, you trigger a deep, instinctual devaluation. Your kindness, absent the backbone of potential severity, is registered not as virtue, but as naivete. Your agreeableness is not seen as compassion, but as a lack of discernment, a porous boundary. You have confused being good with being good for nothing in particular. This is the foundation. Respect is the tribute paid to perceived strength and integrity. It is not given. It is compelled by presence. If our biology demands sovereignty, the modern world is a systematic, often well-intentioned, project to abolish it. We live in a factory that mass-produces hollow men. It pathologizes natural hierarchy as oppression. It demonizes the very concept of integrated, disciplined masculinity, lazily labeling it toxicity. It severs the connection between a man and his natural, hierarchical pursuit, the mastery of a domain, be it physical, intellectual, artistic, or moral. This is the dark psychology of our age. It is a grand, societal-level gaslighting. It tells the young man to abandon his intrinsic drive toward competence, toward being a tool that fixes problems, and to instead cultivate himself as a spectacle, a sensitive, inoffensive, self-referential being whose primary identity is found in his feelings and his victimhood. The mechanisms of this neutering are diabolically efficient. Social media and dating apps, these are hypergamy accelerators, creating an illusion of infinite optionality. They reduce human beings to consumable profiles, a collection of curated images and witty bios. This environment does not reward depth, which is slow and requires patience to perceive. It rewards performance, the perfect angle, the signaling virtue, the calibrated hint of an interesting life. A man trained by this system begins to believe his worth is a function of external metrics, likes, shares, matches. He becomes a feedback junkie, molding himself to the appetites of the crowd. He enters the real world not as a sovereign entity, but as a branded product, desperately seeking market fit. The corporate world, the modern office often rewards not the visionary, the builder, or the confronter of hard truths, but the agreeable bureaucrat. It rewards the man who can navigate PowerPoint politics, who can phrase every hard no as a soft maybe, who subjugates his own judgment to the whims of committee and HR policy. He is paid to be a cog, and he brings this cog mentality home. A cog does not command respect, it is functional, interchangeable, and ultimately disposable. The therapeutic narrative, while introspection is vital, its popular distortion encourages a perilous focus on wounds over responsibility. A man is taught to see himself primarily as a collection of traumas to be managed, rather than a will to be exercised. His shadow self, that repository of his aggression, his ambition, his dark creativity, his righteous anger, is not to be integrated, but exorcised as a demon. But a man without a shadow is a man without substance. He is two-dimensional, a cardboard cutout. You cannot respect a painting. You hang it on the wall, and in time, you cease to see it at all. It becomes part of the furniture. This modern man, the product of these systems, enters relationships not as a pillar, but as a supplicant. He conceals his edges, his convictions, his capacity for conflict. He seeks not a partner, but a therapist mother who will validate his fragility. He believes love means unconditional positive regard, a perpetual soothing of his insecurities. And the ancient psyche, within his partner, perceives this absence. It is not a conscious, cruel judgment. It is a biological and archetypal shrug. The compass needle of respect swings away from him, because he no longer contains enough magnetic north. The relationship becomes managerial. She may care for him, pity him, even feel responsible for him. But respect? That bleeds out, leaving a pale residue of affection, often laced with a quiet, corrosive contempt. He has made himself not a captain of his own ship, but a passenger on hers. And no one respects a passenger. So we arrive at the secret, the fundamental shift. It is not, and never can be, about dominance over women. That is the strategy of the weak, the tyrant who reveals his insecurity through control. The shift is about establishing unshakable sovereignty over yourself. You must perform a radical psychic surgery, relocate your locus of valuation from the external to the internal. Your worth, your standards, your moral code, your life's trajectory, These cannot be negotiable commodities offered up in the marketplace of social approval. They must be forged in the fires of your own experience, tempered by reflection, and held as the inviolable architecture of your being. This is not inflexibility. It is integrity, the state of being whole and undivided. A sovereign man listens. He considers new data. He is capable of change. But he is not reconstituted by every opinion, not dissolved by disapproval. This is the absolute core of Stoic philosophy, which is not a philosophy of passivity, but of immense, disciplined inner power. The Stoics divided the world into two categories: that which is within our control, our judgments, our impulses, our desires and aversions, our own actions, and that which is not, our reputation, our wealth, the actions and opinions of others, our partner's respect. Your partner's respect falls squarely into the second category. It is an externality. To beg for it, to maneuver for it, to shape yourself to earn it, is the definition of slavery. It is to hand the keys to your psychic kingdom to a foreign power. But here is the red pill, the elegant, terrifying truth: your own self-respect is in the first category. It is within your total control. And the respect of others is a frequent, natural byproduct of this, not its goal, but its shadow. How does this look in practice? It is the cultivation of the inner citadel. 1. Confront your shadow. You must reclaim the disowned parts of yourself. Your capacity for aggression must be channeled into the disciplined pursuit of a goal. Your anger must be transformed into the fuel for setting boundaries. Your ambition must be directed toward a craft or a calling that you deem worthy. A man who has made peace with his own darkness is not easily intimidated, not easily shamed. He has a density that others feel. 2. Pursue a hierarchy of competence. Abandon the hierarchy of status, the desperate climb for titles and validation. Instead, submit yourself to a hierarchy of competence. Master something difficult. The weight room. A martial art. A complex body of knowledge. A trade. The process of building a business. In this submission to reality, to the unyielding demands of the craft, you build an unassailable confidence. You have evidence, in your bones and in your mind, that you can confront chaos and impose order. This evidence is your bedrock. 3. Let your speech be heavy. Speak the truth, especially when your voice shakes. Your no must be as solid, as irrevocable, as your yes. Do not offer opinions as apologies. Do not couch your convictions in maybe and I feel like. A man who means what he says, and says what he means, becomes a reliable landmark in a world of shifting fog. This is not about being harsh, it is about being precise, and being trustworthy. 4. Assume responsibility. The ultimate burden. Adopt the posture of the ancient archetype, the king. The king's primary function is to bear responsibility for the realm. In your life, your realm is your existence. Blame no one. Complain about nothing. See every problem that touches your life as your problem to solve, or at minimum, your burden to bear with grace. This assumption of total responsibility is the most potent, respect-compelling signal a man can emit. It is the antithesis of victimhood. When you make this shift, a magnetic change occurs. You are no longer seeking a reflection of your worth in her eyes. You have become a source of value that casts its own light. You are not invested in being liked, you are invested in being substantial. The ancient parts of the human brain, in anyone who encounters you, recognize this stability. It signals the capacity to provide not just resources, but order, the most precious commodity in a chaotic, entropic universe. You stop trying to be respected. You become, through your own self-authorship, respectable. The flame does not beg the moth to stay. It does not rage against the night. It simply burns, with a heat and a light that are the undeniable facts of its existence. It is its own purpose. Become that flame.